Hello, this is the first video for section 6.3 and 6.4, factoring trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c and perfect square trinomials for Math0302 beginning algebra. Okay, now the difference between this section and the last is that we're going to factor trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. This a here is the leading coefficient. Okay, in these problems, this leading coefficient will not equal 1. Now, we're going to assume, first of all, that it's going to be greater than 1, because if it's not, we can just factor out a negative from everything and do what we're about to do. Now, in practice 1 here, it says to factor 2x squared plus 11x plus 15. First is their greatest common factor. 2, 11, and 15 share no common factors, x squared, x, and nothing. So there is no common factor here. There are 3 terms, which means that it's probably a binomial times a binomial. Is it a perfect square trinomial? Well, 2 is not a perfect square, so the answer is no, this is not a perfect square trinomial. Is the leading coefficient 1? No. So that means that we can't solve this in the method that we already know. Since the leading coefficient is not 1, we'll use the amazing method, factor by grouping, or trial and error. Now, trial and error really does work, okay? But notice that 2 times 15, the a times c is 30. And what multiplies to 30 and adds to be 11? Well, 6 and 5 does, okay? Reduce the fractions. Basically, here's what we're going to do. What I do is I use what's called the bottoms-up method. I'm going to take this 2, bring it over here, and I'm going to multiply by the 15. Now that's what it says to do down here, right? This is going to give me a new trinomial. This is going to give me x squared plus 11x, and then 2 times 15 was 30. And then I'm going to factor this actual trinomial. Okay, whenever I factor it, I get 2 sets of parentheses. Now that gives me an x here and an x here. Addition means the same sign, that's what sign they are. So they're both plus, so what multiplies to 30 and adds to 11? Well, as you saw down there, 6 and 5. The difference is that because we multiplied this last term by 2, we need to divide each of these last terms by 2 and simplify. So that gives me x plus 3 and x plus 5 halves. And then here's where the term bottoms up comes in. If there's a denominator, and there will be, it's going to move in front of the x within that parentheses. So this is going to tell me that x plus 3 times 2x plus 5 is the factorization of 2x squared plus 11x plus 15. Okay, so there you go. That is bottoms up. So basically what it boils down to is, first of all, notice that there is no common factor. If this only works if there's no common factor. So take this leading coefficient, bring it over here, and multiply by the last term, the 15 in this case. And then whatever you get from that, that is what you factor. And then that factorization, the last term inside of each factor, you divide by whatever you multiplied by originally, which is this leading coefficient. Then you simplify, and if there's a denominator, and there will be one, it's going to move up in front of the x. Okay. Now notice that it says down here, reduce the fractions if possible, and circle the reduced form of each fraction. Next, turn these fractions into binomial factors. Basically, that's telling you to do exactly what I just did. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and take a break here, and we will practice this in the next video when we get back. I will see you in a second.